Hello and welcome to a very special bonus feature of the Big Reviewski. My name is Rory Cashin, and for the first time, we have a special guest in studio with us, Moe Dunford.
How you doing, brother?
Hiya, buddy.
Great to be
here.
here.
How you doing?
I've wanted to come in here for a long time.
And now you're here. You can shock that off your bucket list
This
like
is
immediately.
some setup you have here, I tell you.
Well, welcome to the Big Reviewski.
Buddy.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing really good. Yeah.
Well, right off the bat, I told you on the way in here, I have just come from Avengers Endgame.
Yes.
The Dig is coming out the same day in Irish cinemas as Avengers Endgame, which is fairly ballsy of you, I must admit. But just to break the ice, favorite MCU movie?
Yeah, it's a toss-up between Thor Ragnarok and the original Avengers.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Why those two?
The ensemble in the original Avengers and the crack that Taika Waititi put in Thor Ragnarok.
There's something about Ragnarok that's just like really, really good fun.
Oh, it's great.
But it's like bonkers at the same time.
Yeah, can't wait to see what he does with the new Star Wars TV show.
Yeah. So we are here to talk about The Dig.
The Dig.
More so than Marvel. Congratulations on the movie. Can I say I enjoyed it? I don't know. I was riveted by it, and I found it very, very emotional and very. It was a tough film to watch because it really felt visceral. I felt like in every scene I was in the mud with you because everything felt very physical. It was a very. It was done more that way rather than a lot of talking. Let's say your character doesn't talk a lot, and when he does talk, he's very concise. So what was it about The Dig that attracted you?
Well, I knew that we'd have no blue screen, that we'd have to do it for real. So that would be real muck. You go into the real holes being dug. And same as yourself, when you see it, it's something about the character and going through it, and the land is his challenge, and it's a special character, special story. It was not quite the budget that the Avengers would have. It was a very modest budget, but Stuart Drennan wrote a character and a script that it just intrigued me, and I liked the hurdles that the character has to get over and get through, and the burden that he takes on, and the fact that it was two filmmakers, Ryan and Andy, first-time feature filmmakers. They've been making shorts since they were teenagers, and just, I suppose, the level of trust and the fact that they've come from, Ryan did 9 years on Game of Thrones, art department. Andy has a background in post-production. And just when we're doing it, we didn't have any time to mess around. We had 3 weeks. So every scene between myself and Lorcan and Emily and Francis, they gave us room to play. So with all of the pressure for an Irish movie, most movies take 4 or 5 weeks if you're lucky. We only had 3, and it was on the bog with little daylight. It was November. We froze our tits off, and they were so collaborative. Yeah, and the respect from the crew towards them and vice versa. Just they had the character in their mind all the time, the characters' arcs and the characters' journeys, and I've never had an experience like it.
It does seem what I might call like an actor's film, because there's a lot of yourself. I think you have to throw yourself into a role like this. You can't half-arse a character like this because he's always doing something. Even when it seems like he's sitting there just kind of paying attention, it always feels like your character has something going on in his mind. And I really did feel that going from minute to minute. But when it comes to, as I said, the physicality, you said yourself, there's not a lot of green screen in this. Everything you're doing pretty much yourself. Yeah. That must help a lot when it comes to actually playing this character, because you can feel he's mentally, physically, emotionally exhausted. And by the end of the film, I was like, Christ, they must all need like a week off and 2 days in the shower just to get everything out.
About a week in the shower. Get that stuff off my hands. About a week in the shower. But after the end of day 1, you're mentally, physically exhausted. Yeah. So those 3 weeks felt like one long day for the crew, for everyone. That was me in front of the camera. But for every different setup, if we had to switch the camera around and put it on Lorcan, that would take maybe half an hour, 45 minutes on the bog to move the equipment. So we were up against it. But no, we couldn't fake it. Every struggle we had was real, and it helped that, it was cold. That could be to our own detriment if we looked at it that way, but they're a tough Irish crew. Had to get on with it, and in actual fact, Rory, it helped us because the environment was a challenge. We just use it. Yeah. Because it was it was Callahan's challenge as well, you know.
There's one scene, I think it's about halfway through the film, where your character has a full on like breakdown. He's like,
Yeah.
it just feels like he's like, I've had enough. He feels like he's been broken a bit. How do you personally get to that place when you're playing that scene? Like, are you the type of actor who requires a lot of like, just leave me alone to get into the headspace, or is it something you can just kind of whip up?
I think it helps. We had a great guy, Craig Kenny, Coach Kenny. You might know him. He's one of the best first ADs in the country. I think, no joke now, I think a lot of it comes down to scheduling and where specific scenes are when they're filmed. So if you have a bit of a run-up, if you do the physical acting, if you have a few scenes beforehand, and then you get to know the character maybe a week in, and coach will take you aside and go, are you ready for this? We can set it for another day if you're not ready. But, towards the end of the day, knowing that you have a finite amount of time, you got to go for it.
Yeah.
And everybody else was really working hard. So, I mean, you just go for it. It was one of those things where everybody dived in.
Yeah.
And you might have 1-2 takes maximum to get it done before the light goes. So you just go for it.
Well, I think it worked out because
Nice
that scene in particular, I was a bit kind of oof. this is like again, I felt it.
What helps as well as you get up during the day, and I actually, for a lot of it, besides the cold and besides the coming out of the trailers and all four of us trying to push off each other's wellies for each other's actors, I quite enjoy that. You'd wake up in the morning, you'd be staying in Ballygally in a place I wouldn't be too familiar with, and I'd look at my call sheet for the day and I go, oh, Callahan has 0 lines in this scene, and has 0 lines in this scene, so I wouldn't have to worry too much about the lines.
Sure.
The environment, it was something strange. The environment really helped.
Yeah.
It really helped. You could just stay there and in a way let the clothes and make the work do the talking.
Yeah.
It would help you.
Yeah. Well, I think not only do I think it paid off, like obviously the film itself, I think won Best Irish Feature at the
That's
Galway
right.
Film
Yeah.
last year, which obviously is a fantastic achievement in itself, especially since they're 2 first-time feature directors as
Yeah.
well. So when something that I can tell you're this passionate about, like a project like this, and it does pay off in that manner, do you feel good about it, or is that something you don't really notice too much?
No, I when I first read it, Stuart Drennan, the writer, Ryan and Andy, and our producer, Brian Falconer, who literally is a producer. He has his father working on the set. He took us from our trailer to the location, which was the bog every day. It was kind of like all for one, one for all kind of thing. And I came away going, there's something special about a character who takes on the burdens, who's an alcoholic, who tries to take responsibility of his actions. And there's something about how that will resonate with an audience. It's Western influenced. It's also Irish, but we've taken it around to Galway, to Italy, to Russia, and there's something that happens in a movie theatre where the audience can respond to something like that. That's what it's all about. And so far, the audience reaction has been pretty solid. They kind of recognise they recognise the hardships that we had to go through anyway. We'll see. It seems to be paying off, But I've never had a process like it.
Well, that is just like the latest thing that I feel has been paying off really well for you. I think the last time we spoke was for Rosie, which I loved. It was one of my favorite films of last year. And before that, I think we were chatting about Michael Inside, which again I thought was fantastic. So you're having a fantastic run of it. When it comes to picking these projects, like how do you? It seems like you've got a really good divining rod. You're like, this, I think, is going to hit a good part of the audience, where you will get a genuine reaction, where it is a film that people are going to end up talking about. So, what is it that in these projects you're like, that's what's got my attention?
It's all the script. It's all the character. With I learned from Terry McMahon for my first lead role that it has to be about something you have to connect with it. So since then I wanted to work with people I admire. Be it Frank Berry or with Roddy Doyle or Kevin Barry, and this being a lead role, I enjoy the responsibility of being out there every day and being in front of camera and having that opportunity, and I just enjoy. I love coming to work and feeling useful on a set, and that team dynamic. How can we make this better than the last take, or how can we improve on what we did? I enjoy the crack of working on a set. I really do. How do I pick and choose? Oh, it's Ireland. It's a small ball game. I've been lucky with the parts that have come. Sometimes you have to say no to ones, and it's a character that I love playing. I don't really know the answer to that.
That's
I just love telling stories.
Yeah, I guess
I love that they're all different.
Yeah, they are like there's no through line with the characters, which is great for you as well as an actor, because you wouldn't feel like you're repeating yourself. But just saying, those last 3 films, they all, I've really enjoyed them all, and I think they've all struck a chord with people who watch them. But there is a heaviness to the story. Like, it's an important heaviness to, especially with Rosie. Like, that's still something that's very topical in Ireland today. But are you naturally drawn to like the heavier, darker stuff, or could you see yourself doing a nice?
Yeah, you're asking me pretty much. When will I do a comedy? That's what you're asking next, right?
Or a romantic comedy. Either one is fine.
I'd love to do a comedy. I mean, I think one of the best drama directors and comedy directors is John Butler in Ireland, because he understands. To be funny, you have to be serious and play it real. But the parts that have come my way. They've been kind of characters that have been trodden down on and want to just try and rise and work through it. And I think if you're watching that as an audience, no matter how tough the conditions are, it's your job. You got to give them authenticity, and you got to give something that connects. Because, I believe when I watch a movie, we want to sit back and go, okay, there's a character that is trying to rise above struggles. I like playing characters that are beaten down and come through it. It seems to work for me.
I think it works for you too.
I try. So. Let's not jinx it though.
Oh, there's nothing wood around. We'll knock on wood later on. Well, I guess would you have any advice for any up and coming Irish actors in the Irish film kind of making process now? Because even like today's Irish filmmaking stuff seems very different to what it was 10 years ago. Like, we're finally doing genre stuff better.
Yeah.
And it does seem a bit more accessible to a lot more, a wider audience, and I guess a wider pool of talent as well. So is there any one specific piece of advice you'd give to any up-and-coming Irish actor?
Well, when I was starting out, I couldn't really be picky or choosy. And I think it's important to not have that mentality as a young Irish actor to go, I really admire that person's work, but I don't want to bother them. I think it's really important to see what connects with you, and to somehow let that person know that it speaks to you. I think that's the only way we can make work. The only way I've got these roles are because something connected with me, and I let the person know. To just go with it and keep pushing, and let the people know you want to work with them. And I know that may sound easy. It's not easy. Acting in Ireland is not easy, but we have so many stories coming out of this country, and you said it there yourself. We have so many new things coming in, and so many big budget TV shows. But being an Irish actor, the real stories are made by people who care what's going on in society right now in the country. So if I could say anything to young Irish actors, or just be aware of what's happening in Ireland, and if anybody's writing a script, you let them know, or you work with a team of mates and you write your own stories, and you let it grow from there.
Yeah, so kind of a do-it-yourself and see what happens.
Do it yourself and see what happens. That kind of seems like would be grand kind of approach.
I guess it's more of it's a good way of showing immediate interest, is to show other people that you have that interest. Like, if the opportunities aren't coming to you, make your own opportunities.
Yes, that's what I'd say. Yeah.
One of the opportunities that is coming to you, because again, we were talking at Rosie, I was talking with yourself and Sarah and you're like, oh, we have a thing, but we can't talk about it. But
You were very adamant to get that information.
and
first,
it eventually came out. You've got a very big TV show coming up next. Can you tell me a bit more about it rather than?
I can tell you all about it now because
Hooray!
It's called Dublin Murders, and it's a BBC show that Element are involved with into production, and I get to work with Sarah Green again, who's fabulous, and it's based on Tana French's novels, and it's a crime investigation 8-part series set in Dublin, shot up in Northern Ireland again, and scripts are very exciting.
And can you say who you play in it?
Yeah, I can. Yes, I
Okay.
can. I'm playing a guy called Sam O'Neill, who's a guy who's working in the Dublin Murder Squad. He's a detective.
Okay. Well,
Detective.
do you know when it's due to be like released?
I don't know with these things. Probably towards the latter part of the year.
Right. So
You know?
big one to look forward to.
Yeah, they tend to choose times when it's there's nothing else on TV and everybody will tune in.
And it's cold out.
And it's
For you to sit in.
Hopefully,
Yeah.
hopefully.
Yeah. So what else have you got coming up?
I'm waiting to see. There's a few things. Thankfully, I'm in a place where I'm just going to go with the lads, my brothers who made this, go over, and I'm going to Dungarvan tonight, my hometown. We're putting on a premiere there tomorrow, which is the 24th. Then we're going to Belfast, 25th, and the Dublin opening on the 26th. After that, I'm going over to the States for 3 weeks and seeing if I can get anything. But I just want to keep trying to be lucky with roles, here.
Yeah. Well, I wish you the best of luck with
you,
all of
brother.
that. Mo, thank you so much.
Thank you, bro.
Thanks, buddy.
Lovely to see you.